Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andy, and I am absolutely delighted to be here. So I look forward to speaking with you today about recognizing and embracing the moments in the course of your development of your career. And very importantly, talking about the people that you meet along the way, that you intersect with, that make those points of inflection so important. As you think about this, it's really important to be able to recognize such important moments, but it is just as important to ask the question, how can we cultivate these moments so that they're not random, so that they come up and we can more frequently take advantage of this? As I reflect, it often seems that a lot of times small moments can have a really, really big impact on your life. And sometimes, if you don't think about it, you can miss the moment as it goes by. So I would like to have the opportunity here to speak to you, to reflect on my own journey, and then talk to you about some of the ways I've thought about being more intentional about interacting with people to try to identify and to support and to create those kind of moments for other people and for myself. I am very proud of our team at Sunnybrook. I'm CEO of the large academic health science center, and we are very, very privileged to be able to care for thousands of people over the course of the year in some of the most important junctures of their life, whether they've been in a car crash or have a heart attack or a stroke or a serious burn. And it is my privilege to be able to support and lead a very large team of dedicated professionals, highly skilled individuals who take care of people and their families and do so in a compassionate way many, many times a year. In my own role, I think about the fact that this is a really, really great pleasure. At the same time, it's a privilege. It is a tough job at times. It is definitely very rewarding. And sometimes it's actually a heck of a lot of fun. So I look back now and I reflect about what was the road that brought me to my current role here, working at the hospital, and I think about those moments that were key inflection points and who were the people along the way, and I'd like to share with you some of the moments that jumped out along the way. So my journey began in earnest in 1982. At the time I was 16 years old. We live in Bowmanville on the edge of town. There was a cornfield out the front door of our house. I'm the oldest of 5 brothers. And at that time, I was not really sure what I wanted to do with life. I knew that I was really good in school. I was good in biology class and really liked that a great deal. I worked at the local hotel, the Flying Dutchman Hotel, as a kitchen helper and as a busboy, but really did not have any clarity as to where do you go from that. And a number of things happened in 1982 that ultimately might be serendipity, but that sort of put me on my way. And I look back on those moments and say, what was important and what might we take into the future? So in 1982, the first person that inspired me was actually Rocky. So that was the year that the movie Rocky III came out. I went to that movie. I went on my own to that movie. And I remember coming out of the theater afterward, charging down the road, in fact, running the 3 miles home and feeling very fired up. I had the eye of the tiger myself. But I tell you, at that time, it became clear to me, or was starting to nag at me, what was I going to do when I finished school? It was the beginning of the summer, and grade 12 was coming up the next year. Now, later that summer, about a month later, something else came along. Another moment happened. I felt unwell, and I had some pain in my abdomen. My mother took me into the living room and made a stack of books and had me jump off the stack, and it really hurt on the right side. My mom's a nurse. My mom was a nurse, and she made the diagnosis of localized peritonitis. She was concerned that I had appendicitis. So off we went to the hospital, and I had my appendix taken out. And I must say, I remember the moment there. That was the days where a large incision was made to do the operation. Walking down the dimly lit hospital corridor in the evening to get to the payphone at the end of the hall, feeling lonely and scared to be able to make the phone call to my mom. Now, that still impacts me to this day when we think about how patients feel. So after that, again, serendipity came. Just before going back to school, I went to a movie, again on my own, and got there early, and sat in the bookstore, and just by fluke, picked up a book that was called Doctors by Martin O'Malley. And that book had me voraciously reading through the chapters and thinking and being enthralled by the incredible stories of the doctors compassionately and skillfully dealing with all manner of human challenges. And it was very, very charging me up and gave me the strong sense that that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a doctor. Now, back at school, plunging ahead with all of the efforts at school, the next moment that came along was a hurdle, and it was an unexpected hurdle. I knew that I wanted to be a doctor, but who would I ask about this? And one day I came out of gym class after school, having played basketball, brimming with energy, and I saw our English teacher. He was the teacher that had a master's degree, so I thought that best qualified him to give advice. I went running up to him, caught up to him in the stairwell, and I didn't expect negative reaction, but what he said to me when I asked about the idea of being a doctor is, well, people from Bowmanville don't think about that. You don't have the connections to do that. You should think about being, and he gave a few other suggestions. And the sense of deflation that came over to me was very, very palpable at the time. Now, it didn't get much better when a few weeks later at home at the dinner table, I had the sort of courage to bring it up. And it was the first time that my parents really gave me an answer that basically said, you know, we can't help. They were both immigrants, my mom from England, my dad from Jamaica. And the sense was no one's ever gone to university in our family. Don't really know what to do. So as we all do, you just sort of keep on going down the road of your journey. And it was an unexpected moment, months later in that school year, at the Flying Dutchman Hotel when I was working chopping vegetables for the brunch, for the Sunday brunch, when Mr. Burke, the operator of the hotel, came and started talking to me about the University of Toronto and St. Michael's College, where he had gone, and how enthralled he had been by his time at the University of Toronto. So off I went to the University of Toronto, eventually did get into medical school, and now I want to move from high school and move into medical school and mention two juxtaposed moments that really stand out. The first was I had by that time learned and been able to take advantage of having wonderful mentors and teachers come into my life. And my most important mentor took me into the operating room and out of the blue gave me the needle driver to take a stitch. We were doing an operation on the aorta, the big blood vessel in the center of the body, and he said to go ahead and take a stitch. Now, I don't know whether it's because I had had 2 large coffees that morning, or maybe I'd been out the night before, or maybe it's just the surge of adrenaline that comes with wanting to do so well and being taken off guard. But my hand began to shake, and I couldn't do the stitch properly, and I really could feel that sort of crushing sense of disappointment that stayed with me for quite some time. Down the road, we keep going ahead, and eventually I did become an intern, and the next moment gave me a different view of myself. And again, it came unexpectedly, but had a profound effect. I was closing up or sewing up the scalp of a patient at the end of a neurosurgical operation, and unexpectedly, I was just sewing it sort of more of the easy part at the end of a neurosurgical operation where I would have just been the assistant. but the neurosurgeon, Dr. Fleming, came and looked over my shoulders and said, "Young man, you've got a great set of hands." And I remember the sense of elation and confidence that flowed through my body and what that meant for me along the journey. Fast forward now, I continue along the surgical journey, and now I'm a resident learning how to do operations, slowly but surely becoming more and more confident in the skills required to be a surgeon. And then it starts to become clear, well, what am I going to do when I get done? How do I go forward from here? And at that moment, again, out of the blue, somebody had an impact on me. Dr. Sharif Hanna, who was the head of general surgery at Sunnybrook at that time, who I'd never met, phoned me or had his secretary phone me, and I came up and I arrived at Sunnybrook and walked into his office. It's a sun-splashed room, and he was really an individual that radiated joy and enthusiasm for everything in life. And he spent 90 minutes talking to me about how fantastic a future for Sunnybrook would be, and how he wanted to build a team around cancer surgery and how he could see me in that. And once again, it gives a sense as to how important it is for somebody to creatively see what you can be when maybe you had no clue as to what that might be the opportunity for you. A couple more years go by, I finished in Toronto, went off to New York, and then came back and found that Dr. Hanna was not finished with me. He was still the head. And then I noticed, or at least I notice now, when you look back, Dr. Hanna was very deliberate about bringing me to his office periodically and methodically making tea and sitting down with me and telling me about the concepts of being a servant leader, about this idea that it's not about me, it's about the team, and really embedding the whole idea of this question, how can I help, embedding it into how you see the world, how you approach people. And Dr. Hanna said to me, "You have a great future as a leader." He kept telling me that. And one of the things I must say, whether it's good or bad, if someone keeps telling you something, eventually, to some degree, you begin to believe them. So my journey went on. I will stop at this point of that, but I'm going to ask the question, well, what did I learn from all these experiences in my position now? How can I help? And I think that the thing that has been most impactful for me is walking. And I have first, of course, noticed for myself that walking did great things for my mind, great things for my energy, probably great things for my health. But more importantly, the ability to go walking with other people creates a sense of energy that you just can't get in a coffee meeting, or you just can't get if you're having a beer or having a sit down in an office, or certainly not on a Zoom screen. And this became more and more of a focal point to say whether I'm acting as a coach, or whether I'm acting as a mentor, or whether I'm trying to solve a problem together with other colleagues. Can we get out there for a walking meeting? And in fact, there's science behind this. There's science that shows with increasing clarity that our minds are not just our brains that are confined within our skull. Indeed, our mind can connect with the person that we're with, and the environment we're in, especially when we're outside in nature, can make a very, very big difference in increasing the degree of acuity of your thinking, the expansiveness of your thinking. So this has become my way of trying to not only cultivate moments, but be able to create moments that matter for others. So this is a collage that shows some of the walks from the last year or so. And as I reflect on some of these people and some of these walks, and sometimes it's as a mentoring situation, and sometimes as a coaching situation, and sometimes just getting out there to solve problems, it is really impressed upon me that we lift each other up, that this ability to get out there and being very intentional about the idea of, what if we create a small moment that makes a difference? What if we create a big moment? And just maybe, sometimes, is there an opportunity that you can create a profound moment? So, as I conclude here, here's what my advice is, or here's what my thought is. It's really important for all of us to look with gratitude at the moments that are sometimes small, but yet may have a very, very big impact on our life or on the life of someone else. And I do think that with a little bit of intentionality, it's possible to increase the likelihood that happens. For me, it's getting out there and walking. For Dr. Hanna, it was having you into his office and making tea in a very deliberate, thoughtful manner. So what is it for you? Get out there, create moments, and all the best. Thanks.